Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of home ownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923, AnyMac Home Mortgage, an equal housing lender, American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC, DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage, Lo-Fi Direct, Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent, License Lender, Broker Number, ML 338923, Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License Number, MC 338923, Rhode Island License Lender, License Number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach in college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3, he's done his part. Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I am Steve Risser along with Justin D'Onofrio, and Week 18 is upon us, and we got a huge matchup on Sunday Night Football between the Bills and the Dolphins. Dolphins trying to get revenge for what happened in Week 4 when they got crushed by the Bills 48-20, and it's a huge game for both teams. And we'll start with the Bills. The funny thing with the Bills is they can either get the number – if they win this game, they get the number 2 seed in the AFC. But if they lose this game, there's a chance they miss the playoffs. If they lose this game and the Steelers win and the Jaguars win, which is very likely because there's a good chance the Ravens will rest their starters and the Jaguars play the Titans, the Bills would miss the playoffs entirely. So this is a huge, huge game for both teams. It's a huge game for both teams. And I think this is going to be a really competitive game. I think it's going to be a really, really competitive game between these two. I mean, I think that I think both teams will be able to run the ball pretty well. I do think there'll be a turnover one each way. I think Tua will make a mistake and Josh Allen make a mistake. But I think this game is going to come right down to the wire. But in this game, I'm going to take the team with more experience and the team that has won the division who does a better job winning these big games and has won the division the last 4 years. I think it's going to be close and competitive, come right down to the end. But at the end of the day, I'm going to take the team that can win these, that knows how to win these kind of games, and that is the Bills. I got the Bills winning the division for the 4th year in a row. I got them winning this division 24-20 over the Dolphins. But Justin, can the Dolphins win the AFC East for the first time since 2008?
No, I got the Bills as well on this one, 20-23. I just think the Dolphins right now, there's too many injuries. They just lost their best pass rusher in Bradley Chubb, on Sunday. And which is gonna hurt. And even though I don't think and Tua is battling kind of shoulder injury, I know he's gonna play, but there sounds like he's gonna play. But how healthy is he? Even though the Bills really did not look great Sunday, they were helped out by 4 Patriot turnovers. But I still think Buffalo, I think they're gonna be more physical up front than the Miami Dolphins. I think Josh Allen plays well enough in this one, and I just think with all the injuries right now that's just piling up for the Dolphins, I think it's just be tough to overcome them all against a Bills team that, outside of last week, has started to play better. I know they didn't look great either, like in majority of that Charger game, but I do think, with the season on the line, I do think the Bills do bring out the best performance, and they do go down to Miami and knock off the Dolphins.
You made some great points, and we'll start with the Dolphins and the injuries. And yes, Tua's gonna be battling a shoulder injury. I think that's definitely gonna affect him in this game. So that's why it is imperative for Achane to have a big game on the ground. If he doesn't, I don't think there's any. I think this is gonna be a very, very difficult game for the Dolphins to win. And then you talk about Bradley Chubb, and that is inexcusable of Mike McDaniel to have him in there in a game that he's down by 30 points. Bradley Chubb has got to be out of that game. And I like what Mike McDaniel's done. He has helped Tua turn things around. But that is inexcusable for Mike McDaniel to not have Chubb to still have Chubb in that game. And let me tell you something. If he loses this week and then loses in the wild card round, probably to Kansas City, I mean, you can't call Mike McDaniel a great coach. He's a good coach, offensive genius, but that was a terrible, terrible decision on Sunday to have Bradley Chubb in that game. Absolutely terrible.
There's no point to have him in there, especially because at that point you already lost Xavier Howard too. At that point, so you're already down your number 2 corner. Now you lose your best pass rusher, and it was a big mistake to have him in there. I don't know why he was in there. The lesson learned, I hope, and that he's more careful now in the future, because that's a huge loss, and that's an injury that, because he's definitely been their best pass rusher, and Vic Fangio loves to bring the pressure, and he's the best on your roster at that defensively. So now that kind of changes your whole kind of scheme, I think, a little bit. So it's a big loss, and it's a horrible mistake there by McDaniel. He's done a nice job, but that's something can't happen.
Absolutely, that just can't happen, because now you have 2 of your best pass rushers out. You got your 2 top pass rushers are out for the year. Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb are out for the year, so it's going to be hard. This is why this game, as important as it is for the Bills, it's really important for the Dolphins. If the Dolphins lose this, I know Kansas City's is not as good this year, but you're still going to Kansas City to play Patrick Mahomes on the road when. About a couple of weeks ago, you thought it was a sure thing that the Dolphins were going to host a playoff game. They go from hosting a playoff game as like the number 2 seed and playing like maybe the Texans to going to Kansas City. That's huge. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, absolutely. It is, and in a year where it kind of looked like for a while it had so much promise, and
70 points in week 3, 70 points.
Yeah. That next week, then they got throttled to Buffalo. After the 70-point game, Buffalo beat them. Then that inexcusable loss in the Titans on Monday Night Football. They'd have Division 1. They'd have it won if they won that game. Yeah, and this game wouldn't mean anything. So, that's something you're gonna look back on and kind of be kicking yourselves. Like that G game in London, they got off to that slow start. They got back into it, and they couldn't find a way to kind of tie that game up. So, there's been a couple of disappointing performances. I know there's been times where they've had all 5 offensive linemen starters were out of the game. So they've had a lot of injuries. But it's it's a huge game for them, because they really could have been hosting and kind of controlled destiny in the AFC. But especially with that offense, like you could go to Kansas City next week, and I don't know what the weather is going to be like, but it could be nasty. Which I know they're really good running the football. But like with the vertical passing game, that's not going to work if it's 20-mile-per-hour winds and it's snowing. So, it could change their whole kind of offensive game plan there. Now going on the road, maybe.
Yeah, it definitely could. It definitely could. Now, moving on to the Bills. I know they've won 4 in a row, but the last 2 weeks they really haven't played that well. I mean, they turned the ball over like three times against the Chargers. And last week, as you watched the game, you probably watched the game against the Patriots. The Patriots gave them stuff. If it wasn't for the Patriots turning the ball over, they'd have a very good chance of losing to a Patriot team that's won 4 games this year. So the Bills have not. Josh Allen, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 INTs in his last 3 games. He really, and let's be honest, Josh Allen has not had a great year. I mean, it's been a good year, but he's not had a great season. This is definitely his worst season since Stephon Diggs has been there. I mean, so Josh Allen's not had a great year. So it is not a shoo-in that the Bills are going to go into Miami and win this game just because they've won 4 in a row. 2 of their last 2 games, they have not played that well. I mean, Josh Allen's lucky this year they're able to run the ball well, and their defense is pretty good, because the last two games, the Bills have not looked great. I think they win this game because I think they're the more healthy team, and I just don't trust this Dolphins team in a big game. But still, even the Bills, and even if they get in, they are Super Bowl contenders because they have Josh Allen, but they have not looked that good either. Even though they won 4 in a row.
Yeah, no, you're right. They haven't. Like last week, without the Patriot turnovers, they really only mustered 7 points. Like, yeah, they very well could have lost that game last week. They're very lucky Zappy handed out late Christmas presents because that was
he was awful. He was terrible.
Oh, he's bad. Yeah, he was bad. Yeah, I think that sounds the rest of the Zappy future starters. Kind of a few that are out there wanting that, but yeah, for the Bill, yeah, Allen just they haven't, they look for a couple like that Miami game week 4, they looked like okay, maybe they're back on track, but like the Jets they played well, and like even Kansas City game they got off to a 14-0 lead and they really sat on it. They didn't do much the rest of the game, and and the Chiefs were driving there. Obviously, the penalty call kind of changed everything, and they did win. They look good against Dallas as well, but Dallas had the flu last week. Like, was that just because Dallas was sick? Like, so yeah, this Bill team really hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks, and they're like they had the third highest odds, on like the betting websites to win the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, this team does have talent, but. And if this team can put it together, they can go on a run. But it's just, it's been a very Jekyll and Hyde team. And, how great are they? You don't really know what Buffalo team you're going to get week in and week out.
Yeah, they are a very Jekyll and Hyde team. And the reason they have the third highest odds is this. The Niners and the Ravens look like they are both the clear favorites to go to the Super Bowl in each conference. The way both teams are playing right now, they look like they both are the clear favorites to go to the Super Bowl in their respective conferences. So that's why the Bills are there. Because if you look at the rest of the AFC, the Chiefs, I know they won last week, but they haven't been playing well. You look at Miami, they haven't been playing that well lately. The Browns, yeah, they've been hot, but they have a 30. I mean, I know Joe Flacco's done a great job, but they have a 38-year-old as their quarterback, and they also don't have Kareem Hunt. I mean, they also don't have Nick Chubb either. And then you look at the NFC, the Cowboys. They've beaten one good team all year, and the good team they've beaten is playing terrible right now. It's the Eagles. Yeah. We don't even need to get to the Eagles. They haven't been playing well. And I just don't know if it would really be down to them in Detroit. And Detroit, even though they should have won on Saturday night, they're not going to take Detroit over Buffalo. So that's why they have the third highest odds. But you said it. You said it. Very Jekyll and Hyde team. First 4 games of the season, I thought this team was the best team in the AFC. And then they end up, after that they barely beat the Giants. They lose to the Patriots. And then they lose to the Broncos on a Monday night game. So they're like 5-5. But since then they played well. But the last 2 weeks, they really haven't played that well. If Justin Herbert's playing in that game against the Chargers, they lose that game. So yes. I mean, neither team is playing great, but I think the Bills are the team that's more healthy and the team is playing a little bit better right now.
Yeah, that's why I'm with you on this one with the Bills because they're a little bit healthy. I do think they're going to play better than they did last week, and I think they, maybe a little bit of a scare the kind of last couple of weeks kind of maybe gets them out of it, and which is how banged up the Dolphins are. And I just don't think the Dolphins, like again, I think I said this last week, like when the Dolphins play a team that's more physical than them, they just they fold. And I just think Buffalo's going to out-tough them in the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
That's
what happens to a Mike McDaniel coach team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think that's probably what's going to happen again this week. The Bills are going to out-tough them, and I wouldn't be sure if the Dolphins lie down and kind of just fight back. So yeah, for all kind of the screaming he does after a loss, it's like how about you kind of team shows a little bit of that fight there. When they get behind, they get pushed around because they don't really show it on the field at all.
No, not at all. So should be an interesting game between these two teams on Sunday night. Obviously, the Dolphins, if the winner wins the division, Dolphins, if they lose, they'll probably fall to the 6th seed. And if the Bills lose, there's a good chance that they make the playoffs. But we will get to the AFC playoffs later in the show. But now we got to get to the race in the NFC East, and the Cowboys have a pretty easy game to win the division. It's pretty much setting up perfectly for them to win the division and for them to get the number 2 seed as they go to Landover, Maryland to face the Commanders on Sunday. And this should not be a game. I mean, Dak should throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes. They should force a couple turnovers from Sam Howell. This should not be a game at all. Just like the game on Thanksgiving, the Cowboys should win this going away, and they should win the NFC East. They should win this game going away and win the NFC East. And this would make it 20 years. There has not been a team that has repeated in the NFC East if the Cowboys win on Sunday. Cowboys should win this game, lock up the number 2 seed, and win the division. I got the Cowboys winning this one 34-13 over the Commanders. But Justin, can the Commanders ruin the Cowboys' chance to win the NFC East?
I don't think so. I got the Cowboys as well, 20-13. This is more than likely Ron Rivera's last game as head coach. Is there any fight from this team?
No, I don't think there's any.
I can't imagine.
Think there's any. Yeah.
No, we haven't seen much of it. So, yeah, like I know Dallas hasn't played well on the road, but I think this is a game where they should just run up and, they should be able to run the football over Washington. Dak should have a nice game through the air. CD Lamb should have a big game. Like, I don't really see Washington get many stops. And, yeah, they were competitive in the first half last week, but the Niners just, they had a couple of red zone woes there in the first half and kind of figured it out in the second half and blew them out of the water. So, maybe if there's any fight from this Washington team, this thing stays closer a bit, but I don't see it happening. So, I doubt she'll win this game by at least 2 scores.
Absolutely. And it looks like Dallas is going to win the NFCs because of the way Philly is playing. And speaking of Philly, they will head to the Meadowlands to face the Giants this week. Philly needs to win, and they need a loss from Dallas to win the division for the second year in a row, but that is highly unlikely, and they've done this to themselves. They had it. They had it. They had the division last week, and they blew it against the Cardinals. I know the Cardinals are a little bit better with Kyler Murray, but that's the worst roster in football. You lost that game. The Eagles are in huge trouble right now. Their defense has been terrible since Thanksgiving. They've given up over 30 points four times in 4 of their last 6 games. Their defense has not played well at all. They missed the guys like TJ Edwards and they miss CJ Gardner-Johnson. Bradbury hasn't played well at all this year. They're definitely missing Darius Slay. So in this game against the Giants, I think it's a competitive game. I think it's a competitive game because of the way the Eagles have played on defense. I think Tyrod Taylor, even though Tyrod Taylor, I don't think played that well last week. I think he missed guys. You saw that 2-point conversion where he didn't miss Saquon, but he missed a lot of throws last week. He made that big throw to Slayton. He had an up and down day against the Rams, but he definitely missed some throws in that Rams game. And then, but I do think there's going to be opportunities against the Eagles secondary. I think they are going to. Giants will make some plays with Slayton, with Jalen Hyatt. But the problem is I think the run game of Philadelphia, like they do every time they face the Giants the last 2 years, they have ran all over the Giants. I don't think it's going to be any different on Sunday. I think DeAndre Swift's going to have a big game on the ground. I think Hurts is going to throw a couple touchdown passes. I do think this game comes down to the end, though, because of how bad the Eagles' defense is and how bad the Eagles are playing. But in the end, the Eagles are the better team, and I think the Eagles win this one 27-20. But, Justin, can the Giants ruin any hope of the Eagles winning the NFC East?
Here's the same formula that Arizona did last week. They got a pretty good chance, but I got the Eagles 23-20. The Eagles, they had that ball for 40 minutes last week, and they just ran it down the throats, and Philly just had no answer for it. And that's the scary thing. We knew their secondary's been awful a year.
But the problem now is they can't stop the run. They're having trouble stopping the run now. That's the problem. That's why this defense has dipped each week. This defense keeps dipping and dipping each week. Yeah, because now they can't stop the run.
Yeah, which is scary for Eagles fans. And like this team's in a lot of trouble. And they should still do, they probably get out of MetLife with a win, but I don't think it's going to be a breeze because like if Tyrod Taylor played on Christmas, maybe that thing's, that scores a lot different, I think. So, even though I know the Eagles the Giants kind of, handed them a couple turnovers there, the Eagles made some mistakes themselves there. So I do think the Giants keep this thing close, but I do think the Eagles just figure out a way. Their offense is still pretty good. I think they put up enough points there, and they do survive against the New York Giants on Sunday.
Yeah, I think they survive, but I think it's going to be close because of the way this defense has been playing. But the big question for the Eagles, there's 2 questions. Do we still consider them Super Bowl contenders, which is the way they've been playing? And should Nick Sirianni's job be on the line? We'll talk about the first question is definitely a tougher question. If we still consider the Eagles as Super Bowl contenders, I still do, but I think it depends on what they do on Sunday. If they blow the Giants out, I would be more confident in going to the playoffs. They lose this game, I think I'm completely out on them. And if they win, even if they win it close, I don't think they have a great chance to contend. I still think out of the 4 teams right now, I'm going Niners. I'm still going Lions. I think I'm still upset they lost that game on Sunday on Saturday, even though they should have kicked the extra. They should just kick the extra point.
Yeah, they should.
That would have avoided all the controversy there. I'm going Niners, Lions, Cowboys, and Eagles. I have the Eagles the 4th best team in the conference right now, but because of the quarterback they have, and they were there last year, I still have to consider them as Super Bowl contenders. And with the start they got, the 10-1 start they got off to, and some of the teams they beat in that 10-1 start, they beat Kansas City, they beat Miami, and they beat Dallas at home. So some of the teams they beat in that stretch were pretty good teams. They've been playing terrible of late, but I still have to consider them Super Bowl contenders with the quarterback they have.
I know I had 2nd last week, which is a horrible mistake. I have them 5th now. I have the Rams ahead of them too now.
I wouldn't go there. I didn't think the Rams looked that good last week. Great last week either.
No, they didn't look great, but right now, I'll take Matthew Stafford's got experience in the playoffs. Cooper Kupp, their offense. Like I don't. This Eagles team, they can't stop anything right now, and you can't stop. They look tired too. Like they just look like they're just kind of out of gas. And yeah, Tampa's been, like they dominate Tampa back in the early part of the year. Right now, that's who they'd face. But I just right now with how bad they've been playing, they can put up points, but I don't know if they can get any stops. So you just gave up 35 points to Arizona. Like, yeah, they've been a little bit better with Kyle Murray, but how do you allow that team to score 35 points on you?
And with everything you're playing for a division, a chance for home field advantage throughout the playoffs, with everything you're playing for, that's an inexcusable loss.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I have them 5th. Like, I think if the Rams right now, if they played, I take the Rams to beat the Eagles right now. I don't think that's crazy. I'll make the way the Rams
I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, so I haven't. I just again, yeah, I know this team got there last year, but with how bad they're playing, like AJ Brown, they can't get him involved right now. Devontae Smith got destroyed. Took a big hit last week. Like, I don't love this team. I just think they're tired. I think they're worn out, and I think usually a Super Bowl hangover kind of lasts maybe a couple weeks, half the season, but it's kind of starting to come in the last few weeks for them. So I don't love this team right now, and I wouldn't be shocked they lose in the first round. I just think they're out of gas.
Second question here: should Nick Sirianni's job be on the line? I think that's absolutely ridiculous. No, his job should not be on the line. He's been in the. This is gonna be his 3rd straight year he's been in the playoffs. He got to a Super Bowl last year. I know he had a great roster last year to get to a Super Bowl, but he got to a Super Bowl last year. He's in the playoffs for the 3rd year in a row. There's no way Nick Sirianni's job should be on the line. Maybe next year if they underachieve again next year, okay, then you can talk about Nick Sirianni's job. But right now, I think Nick Sirianni is safe.
Yeah, I think so too. Unless he's lost the locker room, which I haven't seen anything that has said that he has lost the locker room. If he has, then I said, yeah, it's probably time to move on. But if he hasn't, yeah, team that had kind of Super Bowl aspirations to kind of get there and win it this year. Right now, that does not look like it's going to happen. But yeah, to kind of make the playoffs again, maybe kind of have, this offseason they make some changes at defense. Their offense is still good. They got, Hurts locked up. They still got some young talent on the offense side of the ball. So I wouldn't think so either. Yeah, maybe next year, if you get knocked out again in the wild card round, then yeah, maybe you do go and bring in somebody else. But yeah, I wouldn't fire him after this year.
No, absolutely not. Not at all. So it should be an interesting race in the NFC Sunday afternoon. Cowboys, it's right there for them. They win, they're in. Now the Eagles need a Dallas loss and a win over the Giants to win the NFC East. But we are going to move on to the NFC wildcard race. And for the Packers, just like last year, it's win and you're in. But we all know what happened last year. The Lions went in there and beat them on Sunday Night Football and knocked the Packers out of the playoffs. And for this game, I think this is going to be a really, really close competitive game. Starting with Jordan Love, he has been outstanding in his last 8 games. He's the last 7 games. He has 18 total touchdowns and 1 interception in his last 7 games. He's been outstanding for the Packers lately. And but for the Bears, their defense has improved a lot this year. And I think the addition, we said at the trade deadline, we're like, what are the Bears doing trading for Montez Sweat? That has made such a difference on that defense. I think going out and getting Jalen and getting TJ Edwards, a player the Eagles definitely miss right now. And you got Jalen Johnson on the back end. They got good players at every level of that defense. That defense in their last 5 games has not allowed more than 20 points. They have not allowed more than 20 points in their last 5 games, and they've only allowed more than 20 points twice since they got Montez Sweat. And one of those games was the Detroit game, and they pretty much for 3 quarters they held the Lions to 14 points. The defense just collapsed at the end. So I mean, I think this is a close competitive game. But I'm going to go with Jordan Love here. I think he has another huge game. I do think it's going to be back and forth because Justin Fields is playing better too. Justin Fields has definitely played better since he's returned, which is going to make that decision tough for the Bears, come draft time. But I think this is a back and forth game between the 2 quarterbacks. I think the 2 quarterbacks are going to play well. But I think it comes right down to the end where Jordan Love leads a game-winning drive, and this time, and he does what Aaron Rodgers didn't do last year. He gets the Packers to the playoffs. I think Jordan Love has the big drive to get the Packers to the playoffs. And I got the Packers getting in the postseason this year. I got them beating the Bears 30-27. But Justin, can the Bears ruin the Packers' playoffs hopes just like the Lions did last year?
Yeah, I'm going with the Bears 24-23. I'm going with the team that has been less Jekyll and Hyde of late. And to add those defensive stats you're giving about the Bears, they have not given up a point in the first quarter since week 10 either. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because where they actually struggled is late in the game.
Yeah.
Where they've struggled late in the game because the Detroit game, they had the 2-score lead. And in the Cleveland game, they had imagine if they won those 2 games, they'd be fighting for a playoff spot. Yeah. Their defense hasn't played well late in the game, but first quarter, first half, they've been great.
Yeah, they have. That's why I know Eberflus has done a great job, but the reports say he's coming back. I know he's helped that defense out, but man, I'd probably move on from that. I could, go, all right, I want somebody to take us on that step now, but, you try to use the positive momentum, I guess. But look, I just think for the Bears, they got nothing to lose in this game. Rodgers has always talked about how he's owned the Bears. He even texted Jordan Love after week 1 after they won, saying, keep that ownership. The Bears are playing, this would erase the, and Rodgers talked about how this isn't even a rivalry anymore. All that for the Bears.
A lot of motivation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it would erase this, last 10, 15 years where they've gotten absolutely dominated by Green Bay. That'd erase most of it right there. So I'm going to take the team that's played better. Look, I know the Packers played really well last week defensively, but Jared Hall stinks. He's not an NFL quarterback. And 2 weeks ago, Bryce Young did whatever he wanted against his defense. Justin Fields been playing better. I'm going to take the Chicago Bears to go up to Lambeau and knock off Green Bay.
Wow. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be shocked if it happens. The way that defense is playing, Justin Fields has played better. I would not be shocked if it happened. I really wouldn't be, but I just think, the way Jordan Love is playing at home, and I just, as well as the Bears defense has played, I don't trust them to make a big stop. If it comes down to the game in Jordan Love's hands, I don't trust them to make a big stop. The way the Bears win this game is like they've won games recently. They're up, they get up early, and they pretty much get up early and cruise. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter and I think this Bears defense has played well, but if it's a close game in the fourth quarter, I think Jordan Love gets it done because Jordan Love has just played so well in the second half of the season.
Yeah, that would be a worry because Jordan Love, he's played really well, and they got that slow start, and you're kind of like, man, Packers might have a top 10 pick. Do they get one of those quarterbacks? But obviously now they're not going to have to make that decision. It looks like Jordan Love's going to be the guy in Green Bay. They're hoping for next decade or so. But yeah, because the Bears they've blown a lot of games this year. Yeah, like you mentioned that Browns one, that Detroit game. They were tied with the Saints going in the fourth quarter. The Saints scored a fourth quarter touchdown to take the lead. Like they have not been good in the closing kind of moment. So yeah, that is a little bit worrisome. You're a Bears fan. But look, I think the way this team's been playing, I think maybe this is the one where they get over the hump and they do find a way to make that late game stop and to kind of close out the year 8-9, where it did not look good early on. If you can finish the year 8-9, yeah, you're kind of feeling a lot better about yourselves. Because I know there's a lot of, I had, I think, at 6 wins. Like, I didn't really think this team was going to contend for a playoff spot, but I know other people thought this team could, fight for one of those wild card spots this year.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely came back. I mean, Montez Sweat definitely has definitely helped them. And yeah, they're going to make the decision. I thought they were like a 7-win team at the beginning of the year, but I didn't think their defense would be playing as well as it did late in the year. But yeah, Justin Fields played better. It's going to be a difficult decision for the Bears, but we'll definitely get to that when it comes draft time. What the Bears are going to do at the quarterback position, but Packers win this game, they are in. But we're going to move on to the Seahawks and the Cardinals. And the Seahawks, to get in, they need a Packers loss to get into. They need to win against Arizona. They need a Packers loss. And I think in Arizona, it's going to be a competitive game. It's definitely going to be a competitive game. But I think the difference is they're going to be able to run the ball well. They're going to be able to run the ball with Kenneth Walker. That'll make life easier on Geno Smith. But I do think Kyler Murray plays well again. I think Kyler Murray plays well. He keeps the Cardinals in it. I think it comes right down to the end. Either the Seahawks defense making a stop or Geno Smith driving them down the field. And I think the Seahawks do win this game. I think the Seahawks win this game 27-24 to give them a shot to make the playoffs if the Packers lose. So I got Seattle 27-24. But, Justin, can the Cardinals ruin the Seahawks playoff hopes?
I got Arizona 27-21. Last week, Seattle let Pittsburgh just kind of go up and down the field on them with zero resistance. And I think the Cardinals will be able to run the football again this week like the Steelers did. And I think Murray plays well enough. And, yeah, Arizona's defense not great. But I think Arizona kind of finds a way to make that big stop because Arizona's secondary hasn't been bad. They've really struggled against the run. And Seattle hasn't been great at that all year. They're 29th in the league. They're only averaging 90 rushing yards a game. So, yeah, I do think Seattle's going to get some rushing yards. But, I think in this one, Geno Smith's been very up and down this year. I could see him make a mistake or two in this one. And, Arizona, I think, I just think James Conner has another big game this week on the ground, and Arizona finds a way to win this game and kind of spoils Seattle's hopes.
Yeah, I could definitely see Seattle's playoff hopes getting ruined because Arizona's got the better quarterback, and the one thing they do pretty well on offense is run the football. So yeah, I definitely could see Seattle's playoff hopes getting ruined just because of the fact the Cardinals have the better quarterback in the game. The Seahawks have the better team and the better coach. The Cardinals just have they have the better quarterback. So yeah, I definitely could see Seattle losing this one.
Yeah, I could as well. Yeah, with Arizona, yeah, that roster's not great, but they've been feisty. I think Jonathan Gannon's done pretty good job with the team. They've they spoiled a lot of some of their wins. They beat Dallas. They dominated Dallas. They got the Falcons. They went on the road to Pittsburgh. They went on the road to Philly. Team's not great, but they've been feisty a lot of games. Team I thought maybe won 2-3 games. They've we'll see what they do in the draft, but in this offseason. But I do think maybe Jonathan Gannon kind of looks like the guy that could kind of turn the ship around here. We'll see what they do with Kyler Murray this offseason. But yeah, I think for Arizona, it's kind of you won 5 games, so I don't know if it's promising, but it's better than what I think a lot of people thought.
Absolutely. And let me tell you one thing. We all know Jonathan Gannon was the scapegoat after the Eagles Super Bowl loss to the Chiefs. They sure miss him in Philly now.
Yeah. There was after the game, they were like, they were happy he was gone. I couldn't understand it, but yeah, they truly miss him. Now they got Matt Patricia running around being your DC,
oh man, they had Sean Desai and now Matt Patricia. They don't know what they're doing on the defensive side of the ball.
No. Matt Patricia gave us one more gift to the Patriots by Arizona win that game on Sunday to help them
exactly
kind of make you up. So
move you guys up,
helping us out
in the draft there. Yeah, absolutely. So we will get to a big NFC South matchup in New Orleans. This game matters to both teams. Atlanta still has a very slim chance getting into the playoffs. They need to beat the Saints and have the Bucs lose to the Panthers. For the Saints, they can get in 2 ways. First, they could get in winning the division. The easier way is winning the division, them winning, and then the Bucs losing to the Panthers. And they also could get a wild card. If they win and the Packers lose and the Seahawks lose, they get the number 7 seed in the NFC. So I think this is going to be a competitive game between the 2 teams. But I'm going to take the better quarterback here, and I'm going to take the team who I think is going to run the football a little bit better. And I think that's going to be the Saints. I do think the Saints run the ball better than the Falcons. I do think Derek Carr manages the game, makes less mistakes than Taylor Heineke. I think Heineke will throw a couple picks that are going to hurt Atlanta. I think when the Saints get into the red zone, they'll score touchdowns. Falcons take field goals. That's why I got the Saints going to 9-8. Falcons finishing at 7-10 for the 3rd year in a row. I got the Saints beating the Falcons 24-19. But Justin, can the Falcons sweep the Saints and ruin their playoff hopes?
I get the Saints in this one, 18-17. I think the Saints are going to be able to establish a running game. The first meeting they ran for over 220 yards. I think they're going to be able to do the same, and I think it's going to come down to what team's better in the red zone. And I think the Saints convert a little bit more than the Falcons do. And been a disappointing year for the Falcons. And do you remember when the Falcons? It was what, March or April, where they kind of had like the team released that statement about like they were not interested in Lamar Jackson.
Are you
like,
kidding me? Are you kidding me? You could have had a chance to get Lamar, and you went with Taylor Heineke and Desmond Ritter. That is so on that general manager. But Arthur Smith hasn't done a great job either. He's probably there's a good chance he's going to get fired. But how are you not interested in Lamar Jackson?
Yeah,
the MVP of the league.
I don't know. Yeah, especially in this division with those weapons, they could have won that division by 3 games.
They'd be the number 2 seed. They'd be the number 2 seed at least in the NFC if they had Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, they probably would.
Yeah,
they would. And it's like in this roster, their roster's not bad, especially offensively. It's just Arthur Smith has to go, and they need a quarterback. But in the worst way possible this offseason. So, I'm going to take the Saints. I don't trust Derek Carr, but I'll take him more. I'll trust him more than Taylor Heineke or Desmond Ritter. So that's why I think the Saints find a way to close out a tight game.
Yes, I think the Saints win close here too. Now we will go to the Bucks, who can win the NFC South. We go. Let's do this comment, Hector. It seems like the NFL playoffs is narrated by the regular season rematch. So if Dallas wins, I see them playing Seattle again and not Green Bay. So Hector has the Bears. Hector has Hector has the Bears upsetting the Packers. So he has it being Seahawks and Cowboys and Rams and Lions in the first round. So Hector actually has the Seahawks getting in and the Packers not getting in. We'll do our NFC playoff 1 through 7 after we finish the NFC. We'll do our we'll do what we have 1 through 7 when we finish the NFC. But we'll go back to the Bucks, and they blew a big opportunity last week against the Saints. Baker Mayfield did not play well, but I do think he bounces back this week. I think he has a pretty good game, and I do think this defense forced a couple turnovers from Bryce Young, and that's why I think they win the division. They win the division for the 3rd year in a row. I think they get to the playoffs for the 4th year in a row. I think they win this game. I got them winning this game 24-13 over the Panthers. But Justin, can the Panthers ruin the Bucks' chances to make the playoffs?
I don't think so. I got the Bucks as well, 21-16. Is there how much fight left is in this Carolina team?
Oh, then you had the flat out embarrassment from their owner last week. Oh my god.
The guy looks like he's a worse case of Jerry Jones out there.
Yeah.
He sounds like he's a control freak, and he's always calling I was reading he calls other teams to kind of see what their opinions are to try to. That's what the Kings owner did with Vladdy was there. That did not. He finally let go, and you're kind of seeing that things have turned around now. So, who wants a head coaching job? You got Bryce Young, who I hate to say cannot play. You got that guy as an owner. Good luck. I know there's only 32, so there'll be enough interest. But man, it's got to stink to be a Panthers fan. This is gonna be an awful couple of years. I got Tampa with 21-16. I think Tampa Bay gets back on track this week and wins this football game.
Yeah, I think Tampa wins the NFC South for the 3rd year in a row. And we will wrap up the NFC playoff picture talking about a team that has a very slim chance of getting in. That is the Vikings. The Vikings need to win, and they need a ton of help. They need the Saints to lose. They need the Packers and Lions to lose. They need the Packers and Seahawks to lose. They need a ton of help to get into the playoffs. But the problem with the Vikings is their quarterback situation is an absolute mess. You saw it on Sunday Night Football. Is it Jaron Hall? Is it Nick Mullins? Who cares? I think they lose this game to the Lions. I think the Lions control this game. I think Jared Goff. I think they should play their starters because they still have a chance to get the 2 seed because the Eagles and the Cowboys play at 4. They play at 1. So I think that Jared Goff throws a couple touchdown passes. I think they force a couple turnovers from Nick Mullins. And I think that the Lions win this by double digits. I got the Lions 27-17 over the Vikings. But Justin, can the Vikings keep their very, 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 very slim playoff hopes alive?
I think they'll keep it interesting at the Lions 24-21. I'm expecting Nick Mullins to start in this one. I would hope that O'Connell's smart enough to start him. And again, Mullins moved the ball on him. He had 400 yards passing. He just threw 4 interceptions in that game. So I think Mullins is going to be able to move the football. They cannot turn over. in this game. And if they could they only had 17 rushing yards in the first one, they could establish a little bit more of a running game. I think they'll give the Lions all they could handle in this one, but I do think Detroit, as you mentioned, sounds like the Stars are going to play. So I do think Detroit finds a way to close it out and get the win. But I do think the Vikings are going to keep this thing very competitive and fight to the very end.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the Vikings. We'll see how much fight the Vikings have left after losing their last 2 games. But now we'll do a kind of our like NFC playoff, what we think the NFC playoffs are going to be after Week 17. And I'll start. Number one. It's obviously the 49ers. Number 2, the Cowboys. Number 3, the Lions. Number 4, the Bucks. Number 5, the Eagles. Number 6 is actually, because I'll give it away. I'm going to take the 49ers over the Rams. So number 6, I got the Packers, and number 7, the Rams. So I got the first round. I'm going to have the Cowboys against the Rams, the Packers against the Lions, and then the Eagles against the Bucks. And I think, Justin, you pretty much have the same, but I just think you got the Saints as the 7 and the Rams as the 6.
Yeah, I pretty much have the same thing. So yeah,
you got the rematch. You got the line. You got Stafford going to Detroit.
Yeah, which would be a fun one. We might take the LA Rams in that one, and then I got the Saints at the 7 going up to or going down to Dallas, and I think the NFL would probably love the Detroit Rams first wild card game. I think that would, I think that would be a ratings wise because of the matchup there, quarterback and the trade. So yeah, pretty much the same thing as you, just kind of the flip flop of the Saints and Packers there.
Yeah, and then Hector, I think, has pretty much the same, but I think he has the Seahawks instead of the Packers. Like, he'll have the Rams as the 6, and he's got the Seahawks as the 7. So he pretty much has close to the same as us. But now we will move on to the AFC, and we'll start with the Steelers and the Ravens. And it looks like the Ravens are not going to play their starters in this game. The Steelers need to win to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they're going to need help. They need either Buffalo or Jacksonville to lose on Sunday to get into the playoffs. Just one of those teams to lose, and they have to win. So the Steelers need help. I think the Steelers are going to do what they've been doing. Run the ball with Najee Harris and get the ball to George. A pretty simple game plan there. It's worked from the last 2 weeks. I think it works for them this week. I do think the Ravens, even though Lamar probably won't play and they'll play a lot of backups, I think they'll still be competitive. But I'm going to go with the Steelers here to keep their playoff hopes alive. I got the Steelers beating the Ravens 24-17. But Justin, the question is can the Ravens ruin the Steelers season?
I do. I got the Ravens 20-16. I don't know if you heard this on the broadcast Sunday, but they brought up that Lamar actually wants to play a little bit on Sunday because he was rusty. He said he did, 2019 when they lost the Titans, he was rusty, and he didn't want all that time off. So even if it's a quarter or two, I still think, I'm thinking of it too, as Harbaugh's so good in the preseason, and they're gonna want to knock out the Steelers. Like, they would love to end their season. And Tyler, I know Huntley's not great, but the guy didn't make a Pro Bowl last year. For what it stands for, he did get there. So I think Huntley could play well, could make little plays. And I do think the Ravens defense plays well enough, and I do think they slow down Mason Rudolph in that Steelers offense here enough. And I'll take the Baltimore Ravens to end the Steelers season 20-16 on Saturday.
Yeah, I definitely could see that happening because you never know what you don't think the Ravens probably, there's a good chance the Ravens wouldn't let the Steelers walk in. I just think that, though, with nothing to play for, I could see them resting their starters too. So we'll see what the Ravens do. You made a good point about 2019 though, when they did that, and then they lost. They had 2 weeks off. They lost in the first round. So we'll see what happens with the Ravens. See what they do on Sunday. Now, if their starters play, if Lamar plays, I think they win the game. But if he doesn't, I think the Steelers sweep them and they keep their playoff hopes alive. At least until Sunday. But we will move on to a big game in the NFC South. The winner of this game between the Texans and Colts will get into the playoffs. Now, they could win the division too if the Jaguars lose on Sunday. But the winner of this, it's win and you're in Indianapolis on Sunday night. And I think this is a close, competitive game. I think this game is really competitive. It's really close. I think both quarterbacks make plays, maybe make a mistake or two. But I'm going to take the team with the better quarterback here in C.J. Stroud and the guy who's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. I got the Texans getting to the playoffs, beating the Colts 23-20. But Justin, can the Colts sweep the Texans and get into the postseason?
No, I get Texans this one 27-21. I don't like the Colts defense whatsoever. Like last week, Aiden kind of looked really good against them. They didn't put any pressure on him. He was kind of pretty comfortable back there all day, and I think Stroud's gonna be able to tear up this Indy defense. Nico Collins in the first meeting had 146 receiving yards, and I think the Texans, they stopped the run well enough in this one where I do think they slow down Jonathan Taylor and that rushing attack, and I think the Texans go up into Indianapolis on Sunday or on Saturday night, and they knock off the Colts. I think the way Stroud's been playing all year, I think they find a way to win this football game and get to the playoffs and get to 10 wins on the year, which would be remarkable.
Regardless of what happens with both these teams, and we know the Texans have the better future because they got the quarterback. Because the quarterback has proven that he's going to be a really good player for years to come. But regardless of what happened, both these teams have had really good seasons. But we have had really good seasons. I mean, these were supposed to be rebuilding years for both these teams, and both have a pretty much a win you're in game to make the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been two very surprising seasons for both, and Minshew's been decent this year. He's played pretty well since taking over for Anthony Richardson getting hurt. They've taken advantage too of the Jaguars not being great this year, and the Texans dealing with Stroud, the preacher's right, and then Will Anderson, like very quietly, is going to probably be the defensive player of the year. So
defensive rookie of the year, you mean?
The defensive rookie of the year. Yeah, that's what I meant. Like he's come on the last couple of weeks, so the Texans right now, that the future's pretty bright down there, and after last year, kind of they beat Indy. And everybody got mad at Lovie Smith because, they got the number 2 pick. And
but it ended up working out better because the Panthers made a mistake taking Bryce Young over CJ Stroud.
Yeah, so now instead of, where they're all mad at Lovie, they got to send him a thank you card now for winning that football game because they may have taken Bryce Young number 1 overall.
Yep, exactly. And things would be totally different for them if that happened. We'll move on to another AFC South matchup, and that's the Jaguars and the Titans. If the Jaguars win this game, they win the AFC South. They lose it. They miss the playoffs. And it looks like Trevor Lawrence is going to be back for this game. So I do think that the Jaguars win this. And I think they win it by a couple scores. I think they forced a couple turnovers from Will Levis. I think Trevor Lawrence throws a couple touchdown passes. And I got the Jags winning the AFC South. I got them winning this game 23-10 over the Titans. But Justin, can the Titans ruin the Jags' playoff hopes?
I think it's possible, but I don't think it's going to be very likely. I have the Jags 23-17 in this one. Whoever plays the quarterback, I know Levis is banged up. You could get Tannehill. This is probably his last game in Tennessee. But whoever it is, could they protect the quarterback?
Their offensive line is pathetic. Yeah. I know they got Skoransky, but their offensive line is pathetic.
Yeah, it is bad.
I'd say them and the Jets have the 2 worst offensive lines in football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Giants are down there, but at least the Giants have Andrew Thomas, so you can't put them.
That helps.
On those. We can't put them as one of the as the worst because they have Andrew Thomas.
Yeah. And there's been a little bit better the offensive line there for a couple of after the horrible start it got off to. It got a little bit better. Where the Jets are because the Jets, I don't think they Rodgers probably would got hurt anyways this year with how bad that offensive line is. So, but in this one, the Titans, can they run the ball effectively enough to kind of keep Trevor Lawrence and that offense off the field? And how healthy is Lawrence? Because it seems like every week he's gone down with an injury and kind of trying to play through it. Because the Titans get any pressure on him and kind of hit him a few times, rough him up. But I got Jacksonville. I just think they're the better team, and I think they'll find a way to win the football game on Sunday.
You talk about Lawrence's health. I think the biggest thing that helped him last week is just sitting out, getting rested. Yeah, because last week they were able to cruise. They had their get right game. They were able to cruise against Carolina. I think that could have been because I think he should have sat out. A couple of weeks ago. I don't think he should have played in the Cleveland game. So he's been playing. I think last week the best thing for him was to sit and for the Jags to win because now I think he's going to get more healthy. And I think because the Jags absolutely need him to be 100% for that team to make a playoff run.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of been a little bit disappointing for them. A couple of their home losses have not been great, and they snapped the 4-game losing streak last week after they got off to a 8-3
start.
Yeah. It was it was the opposite last year. They got off to a slow start and they finished the year 8-2. It's kind of been 180 this year. So it's been kind of a rough couple of weeks. But if you kind of figure it out now, you win the division, you get the 4 seed, and then you're playing a good Cleveland team, which is not going to be easy. But yeah, hopefully for the Jags, they can make a run where, I would be surprised if they make the Super Bowl, but it's possible in this year where it's pretty wide open right now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with them. It should be interesting to see what Trevor Lawrence does in the postseason, if they get in, if they beat the Titans on Sunday. But we will quickly go through the meaningless games in Week 18 because we've picked every game this year, and we're not going to stop. So we will go through very quickly go through the meaningless games. We start with the Browns and the Bengals. I think the Bengals win this because the Browns hit their starters. I got the Bengals 20-17. Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I got Bengals 17-10. Browns not playing anybody. Brownies played decent. I think the Bengals do find a way to win this football game.
Now, out of the meaningless games in Week 18, this will probably be the one we talk about the most because of the big storyline in this game with the Jets and Pats. And I think for the game, I think the Jets win close just because they have the better roster. And the Patriots have just beaten them. I think they finally get over the hump and beat the Patriots. But the big question in this game, and the obvious question is will this be Bill Belichick's last game as a Patriots head coach? I am going to say yes.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be. I think it's probably time they move on. I think that it's probably gonna happen. But I got the Pats 16-10. Bill doesn't lose to the Jets. The Jets, I can't imagine us losing to Trevor Siemian. I know Zappy stinks, but I still think we win this football game. And if it is his last game, I really hope in the next couple of days they kind of announce that they're parting ways so he can get kind of, the final home game kind of be like more of a celebration thing for him. Because I know that couple of years been rough, but he does deserve it. To kind of have that send off. So that's what I'm hoping for. I don't think that's going to happen. And hopefully Week 1 next year, Michael Penix is under center for us because I am all in on Michael Penix.
He's moving up draft boards. Then we'll get to Penix later in the show, but he's definitely moving up draft boards. And yeah, we'll see what happens with the Patriots. This is probably going to be our lead. Next week before we talk about the playoff games. What happens here? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And I think we're going to be leading with it no matter what happens. I think we're going to be leading with it next week because I think there's definitely going to be a decision made on Monday. That's going to be a huge story on Monday. That's going to be outside of the national championship game. That's the second biggest story in sports on Monday. What the Patriots do with Bill Belichick, and we'll definitely be leading with it on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely, it will be. This is it. That this is officially the end. It would be officially the end of that 5-year run that him and Brady had. It would officially close the book. So, yeah, it'll be very weird to see no Tom Brady and no Bill Belichick anymore roaming the sideline. So it'd be sort of a new beginning in New England, which it is time for. So, yeah, we'll see. It'll be a huge story, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens the next few days with that situation going on.
Absolutely. So we'll quickly go through the last couple of games. Rams and Niners, both teams. We don't know if they're going to play their starters or not. Niners are leaning towards playing their starters. We're not 100% sure. We don't know I don't know what the Rams are going to do. So I'll just I'll just take the team that's favored. I'll take the Niners 20-17. Justin, who you got here?
Yeah, I got Niners right now 23-20. I know McCaffrey's not playing, but yeah, I wonder if they give Purdy a series or two just to kind of keep the rust off like Jackson wants out there in Baltimore. So we'll see. That's why I'll take the Niners 23-20.
We got the Chiefs and Chargers. Obviously, the Chiefs locked into the number 3 seed. Chargers playing Easton Stick. I think it's an ugly game, but I even think the Chiefs win even if Chad Henne plays. I got the Chiefs winning in an ugly game, 20-16. Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I got Chiefs 17-12. I think the Chargers are in vacation mode. I think a couple weeks ago we saw their fight against Buffalo. I don't think that team's gonna want to be there playing in their vacations already. I got the Chiefs 17-12. I don't care if it's the Chiefs backups playing. Yeah,
exactly. And then we'll wrap up our NFL talking about the Broncos and the Raiders. And I'm gonna take the Raiders here. They got the quarterback that has more experience playing this year. And I think they'll run the football better. I just think they're clearly just the better team. I got the Raiders winning it 23-13 over the Broncos. Justin, who you got?
Yeah, I got Raiders 18-13. One last fight here for Antonio Pierce to try to, get that job. I think O'Connell played pretty well last week. I think Josh Jacobs does enough on the ground, and I'll take the Raiders to get the close victory over Denver.
All righty, so we got the national championship game on a Monday night. But before we talk about that, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut.
There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
All righty, so we got the national championship game between Michigan and Washington on Monday night. And what a great day that was, the semifinals. Great game in the Rose Bowl between Michigan and Washington. And Michigan and Alabama, and then Washington and Texas was a really good game as well. It just shows you the committee got it right. Committee absolutely got it right with leaving Florida State out. I mean, the committee got it right. Yeah, Florida State was undefeated, but they definitely got it right. Looking how great of the day, how great the semifinals were, and looking at the fact Florida State got beat the way they did.
Yeah, well, Florida State was missing like 97% of their starters.
They lost 63-3.
They did. That team did not care. They're showing more fight trying to get the ACC right now than they did that football game. So I think they really wanted to. I don't think they even wanted to play that game. But yeah, it was a great day. First time that both games went down the final play. I don't know, even though the Texas Washington game shouldn't. I don't know what. I really like Kellen DeBoer, you know that, but that end of the game situation, I don't know what the heck he was doing there. Running the ball with Dylan Johnson, getting him hurt, and then the single coverage there on that long pass that set Texas up, and then Sark doing Sark things. Just those last four plays, I don't know. That Sark getting tight and having no idea what he's doing. That's why I can't ever take Sark in a big game. But yeah, it was two awesome games, and then punt got what are you doing trying to field punts?
Yeah,
it was bad. But some not clean football, but that's what college football is. It's not a perfect college product, but yeah, it was two awesome games. It was finally great to see it, and yeah, would have been great to see undisputed Florida State. Yes, right. I think should have gone in, but they did get it right. So I can't complain too. I can't complain, but.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The committee, I think the committee definitely got it right, and I think these were two great games. I think it's gonna be a great national title game, and we'll get to our keys. We're gonna get to our keys to the national title game. We'll start with Michigan, and I think the number one key with Michigan, this is what they did so well against Alabama, got pressure on the quarterback. 6 sacks against Alabama and Jalen Milroy. They got to get pressure, just like they did against Alabama. They got to get pressure on Michael Penix. Number 2, get their run game going. They ran the ball. They did a decent job running the ball against Alabama, but I think they got to do a better job of that against Washington to make life easier for J.J. McCarthy. And I think because they're putting them up against a better quarterback here, and I honestly think a better team in Washington than Alabama, I think that they have to be able to run the ball and be and hopefully not be one dimensional in this game. So I think they got to be able to run the ball well. And then number 3, take Ozunye, find a way to limit Ozunye, make Polk beat you, take Ozunye out of the game. Texas couldn't take either of them out. They both had games for over 100 yards. Definitely limit the production from Rome Odunze in this game. And I think if Michigan knows all three of those things, there's a very good chance Harbaugh wins his first national title.
Yeah, absolutely. That third one, because I know everybody's been saying this week about Michigan hasn't seen an offense like this all year, which is true. But let's remember, they built this defense to beat Ohio State because they were struggling so much against them the last couple of years. I know that Ohio State's offense, the quarterback wasn't great this year, but like you go back to last year, where they had a pretty good defensive game plan to stop all those receivers and a pretty good quarterback in CJ Stroud. So, like that secondary, Alabama got nothing open. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like, Michigan right now, I know everybody loves them doing this football game. So yeah, those Michigan kind of does those things. They got a great chance to win the football game. So my three keys are kind of, you got to keep the ball out of Michael Penix's hands. You're not going to win a shootout. And I think, if Michigan can possess the ball for at least like 35 minutes or so, Michigan's going to be able to win this football game. You can't get up you can't get in a track meet with this Washington team because Michigan's not equipped to win those type of games. So I think they have a difficult time. And again, like you saw, like McCarthy, like every play they ran passing wise, they never let McCarthy sit in the pocket. They rolled him out. He was outside the pocket. Like I don't think Michigan really trusts him to make kind of throws inside the pocket really. So that's my first one. My second one's kind of the same one as your first one is you got to hit Michael Penix. You got to get pressure on him because Texas and Oregon, they did not get any pressure on him. And I know, and they didn't hit him back there at all. And Penix, one of the great things he does is he's able to kind of elude the pressure, and he does a really good job of that. But Michigan, like their interior guys, like if they can get them up the middle, like Arizona State did, their center was their starting center was out that game, and their backup played, and he was awful. But Arizona State got a lot of interior pressure on. I think they attacked him a good amount, but the Washington offensive line won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in the country. And, I think it's a good offensive line. I don't know if it's the best offensive line in the country, but we're really going to see it because Michigan's got the best pass rush in the entire country. So we're going to see it. And my third one is protect the football because if you give that Washington offense extra possessions, you're asking for trouble. Like that muff punt, like you can't have stuff like that go against you in this game because, Washington's going to make you pay for it with that offense, especially if it's a short field. It's going to be difficult to kind of get yourself in a 7-14 point like hole in this one. You turn the ball over a couple times.
Exactly. Now we'll go to the keys for Washington, and number one, it's contain that run game. Do not then that gives Penix more opportunities to score points. So contain that run game and play Corum. That's what Michigan wants to do. So be able to contain that run game. Number two, protect Penix. I mean, you saw Michigan against Alabama. Get pressure on Jalen Milroy. Protecting Penix is a big key in this game. And then number three, I feel like Penix has got to be the better quarterback. If Washington's going to win, Penix has got to play McCarthy because even if Michigan's going to get their yards on the ground, they always do. And without Dylan Johnson, that's big. That's a big injury. Washington is probably not going to be able to run the ball that well. So I feel like Penix, and he is definitely clearly the better quarterback in this game, but he has to play bad. For them to win, he has got to outplay JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, he does, like Penix again. Maybe Burrow at the console, but like I have not seen a quarterback that has just the accuracy in the deep balls like Penix does. Like they're just on the money and their guys aren't even open. They're just contested catches and they're right in the perfect spot where only his guys can bring it down. Like it's impressive. So yeah, Penix has got to, he's gonna, it's another week where you're probably not going to get your wide receivers aren't going to get much separation. So yeah, he's going to have to hit a lot of those big throws in this one to have success. And my first one as well is your first one is you got to slow down that you got to kind of slow down that rushing game because I felt like Texas, like Sark got away from it. They were running all over Washington. And I felt like he got away from the running game too early. Like they racked up 180 yards on him and they were getting 6 yards to carry. And I feel like if if Michigan gets in a lot of third and shorts in this one, I don't see Washington get many stops. Like you got to have Michigan being like 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, where McCarthy's going to have to throw the football. So, yeah, Washington's going to have to be able to slow it down. Number 2 for me, they got to start off fast. You got to dictate kind of the pace of the game, the tempo of the game where, you want to get Michigan down in a hole 7-0 early on in this game where they're going to have to kind of play from behind. Because I feel like if Washington falls from behind and Michigan can kind of just run the football and, have like a 6-7 minute drive, it's going to be pretty costly for the Washington team. Michigan's not really built to come back from behind. So Washington's got to come out with a fast start in this one. And then my third one is for the Huskies, they got to have some sort of a running game because they got to slow down that pass rush with Michigan's. Because if they're one-dimensional and that pass rush coming after you because they don't respect the running game, I think that's where Washington can have some problems. And Kellen DeBoer said Dillon Johnson's going to play. They said that he re-aggravated a foot injury that he had at the beginning of the year. That looked like a high ankle sprain, which is usually a couple weeks. So that could be gamemanship. I assume he's going to give it everything he's got to win that game. But I can't imagine you're going to get a healthy Dillon Johnson. And that's where I feel like, as well for a running game, do they use Michael Penix as a rusher like they did in the Sugar Bowl just to try to keep him honest? So that's my third one as well. You can't be one-dimensional, beat this Michigan defense. It's going to be pretty tough, even with their wide receivers and an arm like Michael Penix.
Absolutely. But the big question, speaking of the running game, if say that Dillon Johnson doesn't play or he's not even close to 100%, how big of a deal would that be for Washington?
I think it's a pretty big deal because, during the month of October and beginning of the year, they really struggled to run the football. It was in the last couple of weeks, they've really found that running game, and it's been huge for them. So, like starting that Oregon game, he had 100 yards, and then, was kind of really when they took that running game, kind of took off. And I think with Michigan's interior pressure, because at the center spot, Washington's really good. At the 2 tackle positions, Washington's good. It's kind of the guard spots where they're not bad, but that's kind of the weak link. And Michigan's interior guys are the best in their defensive line. So I feel like if Washington can't run the football and they're just one-dimensional and they could just kind of continue to tee off with those pass rushers, I feel like Washington get themselves in trouble. So I think it could be a big loss, and I think it could really hurt their offense if he can't go. But, we'll see.
Now for the game prediction, because you're such a big college football guy, I'll let you go first. What do you think? What is your prediction on Monday night?
My heart wants me to take Washington, but I just think Michigan finds a way. I hate picking against Washington because, they've been kind of proving the doubters wrong all year, and they figure out a way to kind of continue winning these football games. But I just think Michigan up front, physical-wise, I think, Michigan does – I just think Michigan running games would be too much for Washington. And I got Michigan win this game 31-28.
I'm going to go with Washington here. I'm going with Washington because, to me, Michael Penix has been the best player in college football this season. I feel like he should have won the Heisman. Washington's been the best team in the best conference in college football. I think they're going to prove that Monday night. I think it's going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a really close competitive game. I think that Corum will do a decent job on the ground. I think McCarthy will play a pretty good game, but I think Penix is going to play a really good game. I think Penix is going to throw 2 or 3 touchdown passes. I think McCarthy will throw a touchdown pass or 2. I think it comes right down to the end. I think it comes right down to the end with the ball in Michael Penix's hands, and he leads a game-winning drive. And I got Washington winning their first national title since 1991. I got the Huskies winning the national title. And the other reason why is in big games, Jim Harbaugh is not great in big games. He's never won a championship as a coach. He lost the Super Bowl and 2 NFC championship games with the Niners. He's lost 2 college football semifinal games. Yeah, the Georgia game. That has nothing to do with him because they were just a much better team. Yeah. But last year they shouldn't have lost to TCU, and I feel like he's going to lose another big game as a favorite. I think he's going to lose another big game as a favorite, and I got Washington winning the national championship 27-24.
Yeah, I would love to see that. With everything going on with Michigan, Connor Stallions was in the stands during the Rose Bowl.
Oh, wow. That's
of course,
crazy.
That's crazy. He was. Yeah, they're playing up that card, but you mentioned Harbaugh, because I know Michigan was a favorite going in, but a lot of the public was all on Bama, so like it kind of was like, nobody was gonna be surprised if Bama beat Michigan. Yeah, like now, I'm on Michigan, even though I'll be cheering for Washington, but yeah, like it feels like it's a game where Michigan should win, like physically up front. Their running game, I think, gonna be too much, but Harbaugh hasn't been able to close it out, and look, the boards, all he's done is won everywhere he's been. He's 104 now and 11. So I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, Michael Penix is a better quarterback in this one. I still don't trust McCarthy. I don't think that Michigan staff really trusts him either to make some big throws. So yeah, it's gonna hopefully be a great game, awesome game, and Washington going for the first one since '91, and I know Michigan won '97, but that was shared. It'd be their first outright title. So
Washington shared in '91 too. They shared in '91 too. Yeah.
Okay. So they did share. So I don't know that they won one before. So this may be their first outright. I don't know if they won one before '91. So yeah, two teams like have not won titles in a long time. So it's great for college football. These two teams are in it, and I wondered how I wanted the ratings to be better because you got no SEC teams in there, because I think a lot of fatigue in that.
Exactly. I think it's got something new here. I think the ratings will be really good, and the games were so great. The games were so great in the semifinals.
Yeah, it just stinks that the Sugar Bowl starts at 9:00.
I know. That was a really good game, and a lot of people probably didn't see the end of.
Yeah, it stinks, and again, get used to it because the Rose Bowl ain't moving from their 5:00 spot.
Oh no!
No! That's every year. So get ready. That's. I love the Rose Bowl, but man, we can't start this thing a little bit earlier. I know.
They're big on tradition. The Rose Bowl's big on tradition. Big on tradition.
Did you hear Stephen A? Stephen A said it should be moved to SoFi Stadium, which has got a lot of
listen. I'm for being progressive. You can't take the Rose Bowl out of Pasadena. Come on now. No. Come on, Stephen.
No. I know he's not a big college football guy, but yeah, that's got a lot of college football fans up in arms right now. For saying that.
Exactly. All right, that's going to wrap it up this week on Sport Talk with R&J. For Justin D'Onofrio, we will be back next week talking about Super Wildcard Weekend in the NFL, and we will be recapping the national championship game. So make sure you tune in for that and enjoy the national title game. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the poles, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees are not. They're even close to the best organization in baseball.
You're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.